The woman actually took a lifeless handsome doll as her lover. Kasumi is the most popular dollmaker among young women today. She is famous for creating countless handsome male dolls. Each of these dolls is stunningly beautiful and lifelike. She is constantly surrounded by admirers, but she skillfully turns down every man who expresses interest in her. She explains that with the company of her dolls, she no longer feels lonely. In Kasumi's home, there is a mysterious and special room. Inside, there is a male doll, the same size as a human. This doll's appearance is extraordinarily handsome. Every day, after finishing work, Kasumi returns to this room and confides in the doll about her emotions, joys, and sorrows. Gradually, she falls deeply in love with the doll. She even engages in activities that lovers would do with one another. One day, a young girl named Yuki comes to Kasumi's house. She is a housekeeper chosen by the doll distributor to assist Kasumi, so she can focus more on creating her dolls. At first, Kasumi feels some resistance toward Yuki, but for some reason, when she looks at Yuki's gentle and beautiful appearance, Kasumi feels a strange emotion well up in her heart. This feeling confuses her, because she has never felt anything like this for anyone before. So she gives Yuki a tour of the house, but she does not allow her to enter the mysterious room. She sternly warns Yuki never to go near that room. Afterward, Yuki moves into Kasumi's house, taking care of Kasumi's daily needs with great attention. One day, while Kasumi is taking a bath, Yuki can't resist her curiosity and enters that room. When she sees the handsome doll, she is deeply captivated by it. Without thinking, she steps forward and reaches out to touch it. At that moment, Kasumi suddenly arrives, angrily swatting her hand away. Yuki hurriedly explains that she just wanted to clean the room, but Kasumi is furious. She will not allow anyone to touch her beloved doll. She warns Yuki again never to enter that room. When Yuki leaves, Kasumi notices an eerie smile on Yuki's face through the doll's perspective. By the time Kasumi turns to look, Yuki has already left. One day, when Kasumi comes home, she notices a shadow flicker through the room. She rushes upstairs and bursts into the room, but there is no one there. Relieved, Kasumi approaches the doll as usual and begins to share her loneliness with it. Suddenly, she notices that the doll's lips are wet, as if someone had kissed it while she was away. Furious, Kasumi confronts Yuki, asking if she went into that room, but Yuki looks confused, saying she doesn't understand what Kasumi is talking about. Seeing Yuki's innocent expression, Kasumi thinks she may have overreacted and decides not to press the matter further. But from that day on, Kasumi becomes restless. Every night, she hears a woman's laughter coming from that room, yet every time she checks, she finds Yuki sleeping quietly in her own room. This reassures her, but what she doesn't know is that Yuki is pretending to be asleep. Soon, Kasumi releases a new doll collection, still featuring handsome male dolls. However, Chisato, one of Kasumi's ardent fans, feels perplexed by this new release. She notices that while the dolls are beautiful, their expressions seem hostile, as if filled with resentment. This is completely different from Kasumi's usual style. That night, Kasumi hears the woman's laughter again. Coming from that room, she hides outside the door to observe. And sure enough, she sees Yuki's figure. Yuki praises the doll's beauty and embraces it in her arms. At that moment, Kasumi can no longer tolerate it. She grabs a carving knife, furiously rushing into the room, and begins slashing at the doll in a frenzy. She cannot forgive it, for her beloved doll has betrayed her and accepted someone else's love. Suddenly, a terrifying scene unfolds. The damaged doll stands up. It turns out that it was a demon all along. Kasumi cannot believe it. The one she loved was a terrifying monster. The demon, angered by being called a monster, taunts Kasumi, telling her that it was her distorted love that gave it its immense power. At that moment, a burst of flames rushes toward the demon, and a girl appears. Her name is Miyu. She is a vampire, but she is also a guardian. Her mission is to hunt demons. Miyu quickly uses hellfire to destroy the demon, but at the same time, the fire consumes the entire house. Kasumi watches helplessly as her beloved doll is burned to ashes. Feeling utterly despairing, Yuki tightly embraces her, gently saying, "I've always understood. You long to give love to others, and also wish to be loved in return, just like the way we are now." It turns out that Yuki deliberately stirred up the love between Kasumi and the doll, because she had always loved Kasumi. Soon after, Kasumi releases a new collection of dolls. This time, she no longer creates handsome male dolls, but starts designing beautiful female dolls instead. At the same time, Yuki also becomes an outstanding dollmaker, but before long, rumors spread that Yuki and her teacher, Kasumi, are a couple, but only Miyu believes that they are about to be manipulated again by the illusion of love. Haruto deeply loved his girlfriend, but one day, she ruthlessly broke up with him. Her reason was shocking. Haruto treated her too well, so well that she felt completely unaccustomed to it. This reason was something Haruto simply couldn't accept. In a daze, he took a bus, and before he knew it, he had reached the final stop. As he stepped off, he noticed an aquarium by the roadside. On a whim, he decided to go inside. That was when Haruto unexpectedly discovered a mysterious room. Curious, he stepped inside. The sight before him left him utterly stunned. He actually saw the legendary mermaid. Haruto was instantly captivated by her beauty. For a moment, he forgot all about the heartbreak that had been weighing on his heart. From that day on, he visited the aquarium every single day. One day, he met a girl named Miyu. Miyu stared at the fish in the tank and sighed, saying they looked happy, but Haruto disagreed. He thought they must feel unbearably lonely. Miyu was puzzled. She believed that fish were different from humans, that they had no desires, no emotions, but Haruto refuted her claim, so he led her to the mysterious room. The moment the mermaid saw Haruto, her eyes gleamed with joy. It was as if she had been waiting for him all along. Haruto softly whispered that she must be lonely, which was why she always welcomed him so happily whenever he came. Just then, the aquarium's director, Eri, approached them. She told Haruto that mermaids usually remained in a deep slumber, only awakening when he arrived. Curious, Haruto asked if mermaids could dream. Eri nodded. She explained that mermaids were highly sensitive creatures. If they were ever exposed to the public, it could very well lead to their death. That was why this mermaid was secretly kept hidden. A few days later, Haruto visited the aquarium once more. Gazing at the mermaid, he gently asked, "Can you tell me, what kind of dreams do you have? I want to know everything about you." The mermaid seemed to understand his plea. In the next instant, a brilliant white light flashed before his eyes, and when the light faded, a breathtaking beach stretched out before him. The ocean sparkled a dazzling shade of blue, and the mermaid sat gracefully on a rock by the shore. The scene before him was so beautiful, it looked like a painting. Haruto realized, this must be the mermaid's homeland. The mermaid longed to return to the sea, back to where she belonged. Just then, Eri's voice rang out beside him. "You saw the mermaid's dream, didn't you?" Haruto replied, "She wants to go home. That place must be the South Sea." Eri nodded. "Yes, that's where she was born." Haruto pleaded with Kaido to release the mermaid, but Kaido shook her head. "I can't. Her home no longer exists. That ocean had been devastated by human pollution." Haruto refused to believe it. He begged Miyu for help, hoping she could find a way to return the mermaid to the sea, but Miyu told him to give up. She didn't believe mermaids could dream. She thought that everything he had seen was nothing more than his own imagination. The mermaid was simply responding to his own desires. Haruto didn't understand. Why couldn't anyone see things the way he did? All he wanted was to help the mermaid return home, but he wasn't going to give up. He went back home, gathered everything he needed, and made up his mind. He would rescue the mermaid himself. That night, he secretly snuck into the aquarium. Climbing the ladder, he reached the top of the tank. Then, without hesitation, he leaped into the water. He stretched out his arms toward the mermaid. She swam toward him gracefully, but in the next instant, her mouth suddenly opened wide, revealing razor-sharp teeth. She lunged at Haruto viciously. Miyu stood nearby, watching the horrifying scene unfold. Without hesitation, she summoned her demonic companion Larva. Larva raised his weapon high, and with a single mighty swing, shattered the massive tank. Water gushed out, and the mermaid was thrown to the ground. In that moment, her beautiful facade faded away, revealing her true, monstrous form. She was no mermaid. She was a demon. Miyu wasted no time. She unleashed the flames of hell and banished the demon back into the darkness. Then she turned to Eri and asked, "Are you sad? Because you just lost your most precious source of food." Eri was no ordinary human. 700 years ago, she had eaten mermaid flesh, granting her eternal life. but Eri told them that the legend was false. She had already begun to age. She only had 100 years left to live. That was why she had kept the mermaid captive. She had been hoping to prolong her life once again, and all the young men who had been lured to the aquarium had become the mermaid's prey. Eri was deeply conflicted. She feared the loneliness that came with immortality, yet she was also terrified of dying. She begged Miyu for help. She had heard rumors that Miyu could trap someone in an endless, blissful dream, but Miyu refused. Eri had already made her choice. She had abandoned her humanity for the sake of eternal life. Humans experience sorrow because they are bound by the cycle of life and death, and that is why they can also find true happiness. But Eri, she wanted both immortality and happiness, and that, Miyu said, was simply too selfish. A few days later, Miyu encountered Haruto's ex-girlfriend at a bus stop. The girl admitted she was waiting for someone important. She had said something cruel to him before, and now she regretted it. As the bus drove away, she thought she caught a glimpse of Haruto's figure. It was only in that moment that she finally realized how much she truly needed him, but it was too late. Humans are always like this. It's only after losing something that they finally learn to cherish it. Rina was a beloved teacher, admired by her students, but unexpectedly, she became the target of bullying and threats from 3 girls in her class. A few days later, one of the 3 girls, Hannah, died under mysterious circumstances. Kaito, a male student, happened to be at the scene of the incident. By chance, he caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure. When he saw the bite marks on Hannah's neck, he immediately realized the person he had just seen was a vampire. The next day, a new transfer student arrived in class. To Kaito's shock, the girl named Miyu was the exact same figure he had seen at the crime scene. Hannah's mysterious death sent waves of fear and unease through the entire class, but Kaito secretly felt excited. He believed he was the only one who knew the truth, so he deliberately brought a book about vampires and placed it in front of Miyu. He whispered to her, "I've seen a vampire before, with my own eyes," but Miyu neither admitted anything, nor showed the slightest interest in talking to Kaito. Lately, the harassment and bullying toward Rina had become even more frequent. It was making her life unbearable. The only comfort she had was confiding in her pet lizard. Every day, she lived in fear, afraid that her secret would be exposed. If that happened, not only would she face punishment from the school, but she would also be met with disdainful stares from everyone around her. In her inner turmoil, she even thought, if only those girls could just die. But her rational mind told her that such thoughts were wrong. She never actually wanted to harm anyone. All she wanted was to escape the endless threats and torment. Kaito, still searching for evidence to prove that Miyu was a vampire, followed the descriptions in his books. On the night of a full moon, he wandered the streets, hoping to find clues, but instead, he stumbled upon another girl from his class, lying dead. Like Hannah, her body had been completely drained of blood. Not far away, he spotted a figure. Immediately, he gave chase, but the shadow he saw was just an illusion created by Miyu because she disliked being followed. The next day, Kaito saw Miyu meeting with Rina in the greenhouse. He assumed that Rina would be Miyu's next target. Panicked, he rushed to Rina's home and warned her to be careful of Miyu, otherwise, she would be in danger. But Rina dismissed his concerns. She didn't take his words seriously. Frustrated, Kaito left her house. On his way back, he unexpectedly ran into Miyu. Miyu warned him, "You should really stop meddling." When Kaito turned around, he was shocked. Miyu's reflection was visible in the mirror. According to everything he had read, vampires weren't supposed to have reflections. With 2 of the 3 girls already dead, the last remaining girl handed Rina a crucifix. Rina reacted with extreme discomfort. Kaito watched from the sidelines, puzzled. Why was Rina afraid of the crucifix? But only Rina knew the truth. That cross was not a gift, but a threat. The truth was, Rina had a secret, shameful habit. She was a kleptomaniac. She had only stolen something once, but it just so happened that those 3 girls had seen her. She tried to apologize. She tried to explain, but it was useless, because those girls also had a habit of stealing. They had dirt on Rina. They forced her to comply with their demands, tormenting her even more. This secret became a nightmare that haunted Rina, tormenting her mind every single day. Her spirit was on the verge of collapse. A demon sensed her weakness and whispered temptations into her heart. luring her into darkness. At last, Rina's patience snapped. She had to confront the last girl. Kaito watched from the shadows, but before Rina could do anything, a demon suddenly appeared behind her, and in an instant, it slaughtered the girl. Anyone Rina hated, this demon would eliminate. It had also killed the first two girls. Right at that moment, Miyu descended from the sky. She had finally found the demon. With Larva's help, she sealed it away, sending it back to the dark realm. When Rina regained her senses, she was horrified. She couldn't accept the fact that she had been the cause of someone's death. Crushed by guilt, she lost the will to live. Miyu felt deep pity for her. She understood. Rina had simply been used by the demon. So, instead of punishing her, Miyu granted her a beautiful dream, one without pain or sorrow. Since then, Rina has spent every day in the flower room, while her time seemed to have frozen there forever. Miyu helped her forget all the pain. For her, this was actually the best liberation.